AEW Dynamite starts off. It starts off with Jay White. He was getting interviewed by Renee, but then the Death Riders approached him. But right behind the Death Riders was rated FTR. They all end up brawling. It leads to them going, through the backstage area all the way to the main stage, to the ring. They end up fighting. They end up brawling with the baby faces ends up standing tall. Then as the Death Riders start leaving, Adam Copeland gets on the microphone. He ends up basically wanting a match with Jon Moxley at Revolution, but Jon Moxley ends up declining the match. Then Jay White gets on the microphone and he ends up requesting a tag match at Grand Slam between him, Adam Copeland versus Jon Moxley. I'm assuming probably Claudia or Pac, one of the two. But it seems like that's probably the direction they're going at Grand Slam. I don't know if it was confirmed during the show. Maybe I wasn't listening, but most likely that's probably where they're going. Um, yeah, this is just typical Death Rider stuff. I don't mind this segment. I didn't think it was bad. Wasn't nothing major, but I'm not really mad at the segment at all. Interested to see how the match goes. I'm gonna assume the baby face. I don't know, because the Death Riders are very iffy with their booking, because they're basically kind of like anytime they have the numbers advantage, they dominate. But the moment you have them be equal when they don't have a numbers advantage, they basically are proving that they're not that strong. So I'm assuming it's going to be interferences, of course, but I'm assuming rated FTR is going to interfere as well. So I'm assuming maybe they still have the numbers advantage with Marina still in the mid picture, so maybe she's going to be the difference maker and allowing Jon Moxley and whoever else is teaming up to pick up the victory. Nonetheless, probably the match that's going to happen at Grand Slam most likely. After this, though, we end up getting Will Ospreay versus a mystery opponent of the Don Callis family, and the mystery opponent ended up being Mark Davis. Now, I think it probably was a couple. Yeah, it was probably like a month or two ago when I mentioned Mark Davis when he first came back and he was when him and Cal Fletcher had the altercation. I said that Mark Davis should turn heel because him as a babyface is not going to work. And I said this was the best thing for him in aligning himself with Don Callis, which I still think it is, because this is the most reaction I ever seen Mark Davis ever get in his career. So I think this is the right choice, because him being alongside Will Ospreay is not going to work, especially with him not getting the TV time, the consistent TV time is definitely not going to work. So Will Ospreay versus Mark Davis. Of course, Will Ospreay is shocked. He's disappointed. He's angry. That his friend betrayed him. They put on a solid match. Will Ospreay picks up the victory. But after this, though, we end up getting Will Ospreay. He ends up calling out Kenny Omega to the ring. Kenny Omega ends up having a promo basically to build up their match at Grand Slam. Not gonna really speak over what they said because there was really nothing much to it. To be honest, it really didn't progress anything. The only thing I will say is that for whatever reason, Will Ospreay ended up calling Kenny Omega his best friend, and then Kenny Omega ended up calling Will Ospreay his good friend. Okay, that's one thing I have to criticize. You guys have been friends for 2 weeks. I don't know how you are like. Come on, like we're just gonna act like none of the stuff in the past matters. Like I understand forgiving people, sure, but Will Ospreay calling Kenny Omega his best friend? Who maybe Mark Davis and Kyle Fletcher was his only friends in AEW, so maybe that's why Kenny Omega is his best friend. That's the only thing I could come up with, because there's no way you're telling me 2 weeks of friendship that's your best friend. Like I don't know how that works, but hey, it is what it is. But this is just the build up towards the match towards Grand Slam. Nothing more to it. Afterwards, though, we end up getting the Hurt Syndicate. They end up having a promo segment. MVP, he basically ends up giving props to Private Party. But he ends up saying that it's unfortunate they just have to run into the Hurt Syndicate. Then he ends up saying that he's putting the roster on notice that eventually they will be coming for all the gold. And then he ends up saying that he's willing to accept any challengers. We end up getting Austin and Cole Gunn. They end up coming out. They end up making a return, and basically they want the tag team titles. They want a tag team championship match. MVP ends up agreeing to the match, and it's going to happen next week. I'm actually interested in this. I'm actually interested in it because I like the Guns. I like the Guns. I enjoy their work, especially with Jay White. I think the match would be good. We all know they're not winning, but who knows? Maybe they could continue this feud, because I don't know who Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin can really feud with in the tag team division. So maybe they could stretch this out potentially and feud for a couple of weeks. I don't know, but I will say I am slightly interested in the story and the potential of them stretching this out, but who knows? Afterwards, we end up getting Harley Cameron and Mercedes Renee. They end up having a segment. Start off with Harley Cameron, having with the doll, having an imitation doll of Mercedes. She's talking to it and all that. Basically, I wouldn't say mimicking Mercedes, but she was basically mimicking Mercedes to a degree. Then Mercedes walks in on her, ends up calling her a loser. This is basically building up towards their match, potentially at Grand Slam, I'm assuming. I don't know if Harley Cameron is Australian, but I'm assuming this is building up towards that match towards Australia. Harley Cameron just picked up the victory on Collision as well, so I'm assuming that has to be a match at Grand Slam. I typically don't. I haven't been reviewing this really because I know this has been a thing that's been building for a few weeks. I haven't really been talking about it. But Harley Cameron has really grown on me. But typically, characters like Harley Cameron, I don't know why I find them entertaining. Like Ariana Grace, Chelsea Green to a degree. Tony Storm really hasn't really grown on me yet, even though it has. She's grown on me more and more. But goofy characters like this, I don't know why it works for me. It just very works. I like Harley Cameron's work. I don't know why. Gimmicks like this works for me, but we already know how this is going to play out with Mercedes Moné clearly defeating Harley Cameron. But nonetheless, I am interested in Harley Cameron. I hope she continues to get more TV time. After this, we end up getting Konosuke Takeshita with Kyle Fletcher versus Hounds of Hell. Okay, I don't know why this match happened. I really don't know why this match happened. I don't understand it. Mainly because Buddy Matthews apparently has a program with Okada. He has a program with Okada at Grand Slam for the Continental Championship, and I'm not even going to go into that because the reason why he even got a championship opportunity makes no sense. But I don't understand why this match happened. The only thing I can think of is that they wanted to build up Kyle Fletcher and Konosuke because Hounds of Hell, I don't know why you put them in this match because they need victories because they're trying to tell the story of they don't need Malachi. They're trying to prove that Malachi was the one holding them back. But putting them in this match kind of derails it a bit. I'm not saying it buries them or anything, no. But you kind of put it in a situation where both teams need the victory. I don't understand why this match needed to happen. Both teams need a victory. I don't think it really makes Kyle Fletcher and Konosuke more of a threat than they already were. I don't really think you needed this, to be honest with you. I really don't. I don't understand the purpose of this match. But it happened. Kyle Fletcher and Konosuke ends up picking up the victory. Then we get to the good portion of Dynamite, because I will say the first half of Dynamite, it was looking like it was going into another bad show, but the second half of Dynamite really picked up. We end up getting MJF. He ends up basically mentioning Jeff Jarrett. He was talking about Jeff Jarrett and he was talking about getting the world championship back. But then you end up getting Max Caster. He comes out because earlier in the show, Max Caster was talking to Hangman, but Hangman, of course, he ends up making Hangman mad, which made Hangman ends up chasing Max Caster. Max Caster comes in the ring. Him and MJF are going back and forth because Max Caster interrupted him. Then Hangman comes out, and MJF and Hangman ends up having another stare down. I don't know where this is leading to, but I am interested if they're actually going to have a program, because MJF and Hangman should be very interesting if they're actually going to progress with that story. Then you end up getting Dustin Rhodes. He ends up coming out. Hangman and Max Caster end up leaving the ring. Hangman continues to chase Max Caster. Dustin Rhodes comes out, and he basically ends up saying that all MJF does is talk about others, and he tells them to keep Owen Hart's name out his mouth. Then he starts mentioning his upbringing, the things he struggled with. He mentions, him being being addicted to drugs and all that, and overcoming that. Then MJF, of course, responds back, mentioning his drug addiction. Then he ends up mentioning that it took him 37 years to finally get out of his dad's shadow. And then he ends up saying that now he lives in his brother's shadow. Dustin Rhodes ends up attacking MJF. And then security, of course, breaks them apart. MJF is on the outside of the ring. Then he gets back in the ring and hits Dustin Rhodes with a low blow. I will say this. At first, I was so confused and I was very iffy on why this was happening. But the more I thought about it, the more I actually liked the segment. And Dustin Rhodes actually cut a very good promo. And plus, if this is going to keep us away from Jeff Jarrett and MJF for a bit, I'm okay with it, because I know eventually Jeff Jarrett and MJF are going to come back. They're going to feud again. I know they're just taking a break, but if this is giving us a little mini break, I'm fine with it. And plus, they're going to have a match next week. So I'm actually interested. I actually like what they did here. They actually gave solid reasoning, mainly because Dustin Rhodes, Owen Hart. So I'm actually not mad at it. And the promo segment between mainly Dustin Rhodes. Dustin Rhodes was actually the most interesting part of this segment, shockingly, actually. So I'm actually interested in see where this actually could go, but I feel like I know where this is going to go. I feel like it's going to be MJF demolishing Dustin Rhodes, probably going to attack him after the match. Then Jeff Jarrett is probably going to come out for the save, most likely on next week's on Dynamite, I'm assuming. After this, though, when I'm getting Toni Storm versus Queen, and when I first saw this match announced, I was like, this is so stupid. But what they ended up doing was very creative, and I actually like this. Toni Storm ended up role playing as Mariah May, and I'm gonna be honest, this was amazing. I ain't gonna lie, this was great. This was amazing. Mariah May was on commentary. This was great because I'm gonna be honest, she looked exactly like Mariah May. Now, to be fair, they always look kind of similar, but her wearing the outfit and everything, there was times in this match where I was literally confused because I was kept forgetting that it's Toni Storm because I literally thought it was Mariah May at times. But then I had to start looking at the figure and stuff and actually look at the person because there was times I was actually forgetting. She ended up getting her mannerisms correct as well. She ended up hitting the Mayday to finish the match as well. This was great. Tony, this was great. This was really good. I really love what they did here. This was great. This was a really great segment. I really love what they did here. Um, it is unfortunate that we couldn't have gotten more of this towards the build. It's pretty unfortunate with that because I really think this was what was missing with Mariah May's title reign. If we would have got more of this in her title reign would have been so much better. It is unfortunate that she's going to lose at Australia, but nonetheless, this was a really great segment. This was really great. I really love what they did here. Toni Storm did a fantastic job role playing as Mariah May. Then we get the main event, Ricochet versus Swerve. They go on a really good match. I'm not going to go that in depth on the match, but Ricochet, well, towards the end of the match, actually, Swerve goes for a swerve stomp, but Ricochet ended up trying to, stop him from hitting the swerve stomp while he's on the ground. He accidentally ended up low blowing Swerve Strickland. This allowed him to end up hitting the spirit gun and ends up picking up the victory. Um, Very weird ending, but I actually like it because I did say Ricochet does need the victory because if Ricochet loses, this shoots for nothing. But this also gives another way for them to have another match because because Swerve can easily say that he lost basically by a fluke. It was a fluke that Ricochet beat him. So they're clearly gonna have another match. And then Ricochet afterwards ended up taking the jacket that Swerve came out with and ended up pushing Prince Nana down and ended up taking the jacket with him. So this was overall, it was a solid Dynamite. This was really solid Dynamite, mainly carried by the second hour, but the second hour really did a good job with the MJF and Dustin Rhodes promo, the Mariah May, Toni Storm. I really love that, and then this Ricochet and Swerve stuff. I like what they did here. I really like what they did here. This was really good. Solid Dynamite. Dynamite really bounced back from the previous bad shows. Let's hope they can continue this momentum. So I'm giving good praise right now. The show is really solid. Let's hope they continue this momentum. You guys let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. But yeah, that's it.